This desert city is one of my favorite builds in my 1400-day hardcore Minecraft world. It's also home to my gunpowder farm as well as my sugarcane farm. I've really been wanting to build in this style again though, so in this video I'm going to be building a massive cactus farm for an endless supply of green dye. I'll also be adding new houses, market stalls, trees, and other decorations to really expand the city. I am really excited to get started on all of this building, but before we get too carried away, I better explain why I even want all of this green dye to begin with. As of late, I have really been enjoying terraforming, and sometimes I get a little bit carried away and like to mix in all different types of green blocks like wool, concrete powder, and terracotta. Up until this point, I have been getting all of my green dye from this small little cactus farm right here, which looks nice, but it's really not that big. And as the projects in this world get crazier and crazier, we're gonna need even more of this stuff. But with that explanation out of the way, let's get started on gathering up all the materials we need for our bigger, better farm. The first item on our list is acacia wood, so out in the savannah I cut down a ton of trees, and I stripped most of them along the way since I plan on surrounding the farm with an orange themed building. Next up, I went to a dark oak forest and chopped down plenty of those trees as well, since the darker toned wood should contrast the orange nicely. I then made my way to a badlands biome where I proceeded to spend over an hour gathering close to 20,000 red sand. I mainly want to use red sandstone, but it turns out it rarely spawns naturally, so I had to collect 4 sand for each sandstone block that I needed. Kind of a pain, I can't lie, but complaining aside, I set up a beacon and proceeded to gather up 10 or so stacks of brown terracotta. Back at my starter house, I broke down some coal ore I had in storage, and then used that to smelt up a decent chunk of the red sandstone into smooth stone with the help of our super smelter. I went through that pretty quickly, but in reality it took me almost 5 hours to get all of these materials. And it also took 10 shulker boxes to store everything, which is kinda nuts, but here's a look at all of the different materials we're going to need to build the farm. Okay, there is just one more thing that I need, and that's more cactus. It's a little bit ironic that I need, cactus to build a cactus farm, but it is what it is. And luckily we're in a desert, so there's no shortage of this stuff. Okay, with this cactus right here, I should have 2 full stacks of cacti, so we should be good to go. Alrighty, let's get started on the base of the farm, and we just have to come over 11 blocks, which, okay, that is so hard to count while talking, but I think that's 11. Let's also go 11 blocks this way, and then we'll just box off the entire thing to make a perfect square. So something just like that. And then we'll need somewhere to plant the actual cacti, so let's just place down some sand spaced 1 block apart. Okay, last one right here, and then let's fill in the rest of this space just using some birch planks. And then in the very center, we're gonna have our collection system, so let's dig this out, I don't know, maybe just like 3 blocks for now, and we'll go hopper and hopper. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Let's just dig this down maybe a few blocks, and we gotta make our way over to that hopper. Okay, there's the hopper, that's good. We're gonna need a collection system though, so maybe let's do double chest, and we'll do another double chest right below that. And then so the items feed into it, let's go hopper, and then another hopper going into that, and then we can just extend these ones going all the way over. It should be functional now, so maybe let's just go ahead and fill the rest of this in with sand, just so nothing spawns down here. Also, working with sand is such a pain, everything keeps falling down. Why does gravity exist? This thing is kinda lame. It should be functional now, let's just quickly test it. Let's maybe throw our elytra in there, and come on, please end up in the chest, and okay, awesome, I'm a redstone genius. Let's go. Okay, fine, maybe a genius is a bit of a stretch, but anyway, let's carry on by building this farm, and the next step is to build this up a block, and I'm just going to use some smooth stone. Okay, the wall's in place, and I just realized I need to bring up these sand blocks by 1, so let's just do that right there, and yeah, should be good to go. The next step is going to require a decent amount of water, so let's just quickly make ourselves an infinite water source. But with a bunch of water in hand, let's place some water in each of the 4 corners, and this should push all of the items into the very center and put them into the hopper. Looks like that's working, which is great, and the next step is to place down a bunch of fences, and these are what are actually going to cause the cacti to break once they grow. I got rid of all the temporary fences that weren't needed, so I think we should be good to go. And the really nice thing about this farm is, you don't need really any pistons or anything crazy like that, really simple to set up. That means we're finally at the stage where we can place in all of the cacti. And that should be the entire first layer of the farm good to go, should be all functional now, so let's just surround the entire thing with some glass just like so. And then to light the whole thing up, let's do a piece of glowstone in all 4 of the corners. And we could just leave the farm like this if we wanted to, but I want to go totally overkill with this one and build a bunch of layers, so let's cover the entire thing up with some slabs. Should be the last slab right here, and I'll just leave the very center open so that the blocks from the second layer can funnel down into the center as well. And I think I'm going to go for 6 more layers on top of this one, so let's lock in and build it up. Alright, we have 7 layers from the bottom to the top, and this thing is looking pretty insane now. And I'm curious, have we gotten any cacti yet? Let's take a look. Okay, alright, 19 in the time we were building it. Not too bad, honestly. Oh, 20. As nice as it is having the farm fully functional now, I want to get started on covering it up with a building because right now it's a bit of an eyesore. So first things first, let's clear out a bit of space for it. It's been a few minutes and I think I got all the space cleared out that I needed to, so let's grab some materials and we can get to building. And we're going to start using a bunch of these orange blocks that we got, so let's grab some of this smooth red sandstone, and we'll also take a bunch of the dark oak as well. And I'm also going to be mixing in a bit of this orange terracotta that I had in storage. I think it's going to fit the block palette nicely. Oh yeah, and we should grab a bunch of this acacia stuff as well. But you know what, this structure is going to be so big, I think there's no time to waste, so let's build up the first layer and I can show you the build style that I'm going for. That took quite a bit longer than I thought it was going to, but the first tier of the building is all in place. I think my favorite thing about it so far is these arches. It really fits the desert style that I'm going for, and I did get a bit of inspiration for these based off of a building that I saw on the bakery server. Not exactly sure who the original builder is, but I thought I'd point that out. And as you can see, the top of the cactus farm is still sticking out, so I probably want to add like 2 or 3 more tiers on top, but in the meantime, let's build these entrances. I left some holes so we can get inside, so first things first, let's just build up some stone just like so, and we'll do another row right here. And then I'm thinking we do a mixture of both andesite stairs and regular stone stairs to get ourselves up onto this higher level. And let's finish it off with a couple of walls right here with soul lanterns on top, and last but not least, a dark oak door. Pretty simple design, and I was considering leaving these all open and not having dark oak behind the arches, but I think the contrasting colors of the dark oak wood alongside the orange looks really nice, so I think it was a good choice. I went ahead and got that same entrance design in place on all sides of the building because the whole thing is symmetrical, but the next thing I want to get started on is the inside, because as soon as we open this door, it's just a drop into, yeah, this. So I think let's just get started by building a platform kind of surrounding the entire interior, just made out of some stone that's the same elevation as the doors. Should be the last 3 blocks right here, and I do want to have some staircases on all 4 sides, but before we get to that, I'm thinking we can replace this very bottom layer with some brown terracotta, so let's get this in place. Just ignore the shulker mess, but already this is looking so much better, and let's even patch this up a little bit around our collection system. Might be a little bit tricky, but you know what, okay, let's just jump down here, remove some of the sand, and we can patch this up with the brown terracotta as well. Okay, wow, that looks so much cleaner, and I'm thinking we can do a dark oak trapdoor right here, which should cover up that hole and blend in with the terracotta pretty nicely. And the good thing is we can still just flip that open, access this bottom chest, and holy cow, wait, we already have 5 stacks of cactus? Let's go. But anyway, where we have these kind of like sand patches right here, I was thinking we could do some staircases, so let's just do some stone stairs and then cover up each side just like that. It's a pretty simple design, but let's just go ahead and repeat that 3 more times for all 4 sides of the building. So staircase number 3 just right here, and staircase number 4, just do a row of stairs there and a row right here. Yeah, this is super awesome. We can just take this staircase up to get to this higher platform where we can go outside, or easily just come down here and access the farm. And just to make sure everything's up to code, let's throw in an acacia trapdoor railing going all the way around the platform. Yeah, this feels much safer now, but what's not going to be so safe is once we throw the roof on, as it's going to be super dark in here, so let's get started on adding some lighting. And we do have some glowstone in the farm, so it should light up this center area, but just in these corners I want to do a wall with a lantern on top. So let's just throw a 3rd one in this corner here, and just ignore our shulker monster again, and we'll do a final one right there. And then we do have these sort of like sticky outy bits above all of the entrances, and I was thinking that could be a great location for some hanging lanterns. So maybe let's just come down like 6 chains. What is this, 4, 5, and oof, this is tough. Oh gosh, this is tough. And 6. And then we'll just throw a lantern right underneath that. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. So let's do the exact same thing right here. We'll come down 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, why are chains so tough? Come on. 4, 5, and oh my goodness, 6. Okay, maybe this will just be easier from the very bottom, and boom, lantern. I really need to use scaffolding more, but this does look pretty good, and maybe we just throw another one kind of up in this corner as well. Let's do the exact same thing. We'll come down 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then just throw a lantern at the very bottom. As much as I was struggling with placing the chains and lanterns, I did feel like the locations I picked out were pretty good, so I added more going all the way around the interior. Just one more lantern to place in, and there we go. The entire interior should now be mob-proofed. And I know this interior is kind of on the basic side, but I mean, it's just for a cactus farm. I think I'm totally fine with that. I think it's about time to get back to work on building the exterior though. I'm getting kind of sick of seeing the cactus farm sticking out of the top of it, so let's finish up this upper section and get it done. And just like that, the entire building is finished and the cactus farm is covered up. It's looking pretty dang sweet. I did notice though that this villager over here has just been stuck on top of this house the entire time I've been building. Let's see if we can maybe give him a bit of a push here. Come on, villager. Have some freedom. There you go. Sorry, maybe hurt your legs a little there. Okay, distractions aside, this thing is looking super epic. I really like these glazed terracotta kind of highlights at the top, and it's really hard to see, but I also put some copper bulbs up there. And you might have noticed in the time lapse, but I added a bit of a design to the rooftop here, just by contrasting the smooth red sandstone against the acacia wood. And we of course gotta take a look from inside, so let's just pop our head in here, close the door behind us, and yeah, this thing is looking super grand, really happy with this. Okay, and let's see, how much cacti has the farm generated? Okay, nice, over 9 stacks, that's awesome. But you know what, we did not build this farm for nothing, so let's grab a couple of stacks of these and use them in a build. And by use them, I mean that I want to use some green dye, so first things first, let's throw these into the furnaces inside of our starter house. I'm excited to show you what I have in mind for this build, but while we're waiting for that to smelt up, let's head down into our secret storage room and grab all the other materials that we're going to need. So I know one of the things I'm going to need is some brown mushroom blocks, probably just like 2 stacks. And then something else I need is some andesite. I think I mainly just need slabs, so let's just grab those right there. Okay, awesome. And then I am going to need a bunch of tough blocks. Let's maybe grab like, I don't know, 5 stacks, and I'll also take these walls, stairs, and do I have any slabs? I do not. No worries, let's just head over to our stone cutter and just turn like a stack of these into slabs. Should be good. Alright, heading over to the other side of our storage room, I want to use a bunch of different moss blocks, so I'll just take all of those. And then I also just want to use some regular stone, so let's see, let's just take a few stacks of regular stone blocks. We'll take these slabs as well as these stairs and these buttons too. Okay, and then I think the last thing we need from down here is some moss blocks, so I'll take those, I'll take the carpet as well, and then I also want to use some pale moss, so let's just take 2 stacks right there. Okay, turns out I did not have enough moss blocks in storage, so I just popped down into our moss farm to grab a bit more. I let the farm run for a few minutes, so let's see. Okay, we got a couple stacks there, that's pretty good. I'll take a couple more stacks right here, and let's see. Okay, a bunch in here, very nice. Okay, that should be all the moss that we need, so let's just break this shulker box, grab my ender chest back, and go grab the rest of the materials. Oh, wait, I almost just forgot to turn these farms off. If I did not turn these off, the farms would break, so that was a close one actually. Back in our secret storage room, I almost forgot that I need some regular sand, and in this top chest I should have some, yeah, okay, I need like some sandstone, a bit of cut sandstone, as well as the smooth stuff, so let's grab a bunch of that. Okay, sweet, so that should be everything that we need from underground, so let's head upstairs and grab some materials from up here too. So I know I'm going to want to use a decent amount of short grass, which nice to have some there, and I'll also take some of this dry grass as well. And as a matter of fact, I'm also going to need some firefly bushes and a few ferns too. As I'm looking at this though, I don't think I'm going to have enough of the short dry grass, so let's just use some bone meal right here, quickly make some more. I'll grab like a few stacks and then we should be good to go. Honestly, I feel like I do use this stuff enough to justify making an automatic farm for it, but I'm feeling lazy right now, so I'll do that later. Okay, a few minutes later, and we have, what is this, 2.5 stacks of short grass? Should be good. Let's just stay organized and throw all of this different vegetation into a shulker box. Okay, I think pretty much the last of the stuff that we need is all wood materials, so let's head into our lumber mill because this is where, of course, we store all of our wood. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need a bunch of birch planks, which, okay, I have a decent amount here, that's good, and I'll also take these slabs too. And then I want to use a decent amount of these stripped birch logs, and okay, at least I have some regular ones. I think let's just make our life easy, place these down, strip them all, cut them back down, and then we should be good. And I really should set up some sort of beacon to help me chop these back down faster, but once again, that's another thing that I can procrastinate. That should be all the stripped birch logs that we need. We're also going to need some oak stuff though, and I don't have any. Do I at least have some planks? Please tell me that. Okay, I have a decent amount of planks. I'll take those, and I'll take these 4 slabs as well. You know what though? I really can't complain. We've gotten super lucky and had almost every single item we needed inside of our storage rooms. So let's just lock in, chop down a few trees, and we should be good to go. Okay, yeah, and I just remembered I am going to need a decent amount of these stripped logs as well. So let's just do that as we're cutting them down to save us some time. All right, I think I got all the logs we're going to need, but I do need more slabs. So let's just maybe make like, I don't know, how much is that? 46 slabs? Yeah, should be enough. It's taken a little bit longer to get all these materials gathered up than I thought it would, I'll be honest, but at least that should have given our cacti some time to smelt, and yeah, it did. Okay, let's grab all of this green dye, and let's just head over to our crafting table, combine this with some white dye to make some lime dye, and then we can make a bunch of, yeah, lime terracotta. Okay, but with that, we should have everything that we need, and oh man, just flying over to our desert city now, seeing this kind of stick up above the houses looks so cool. Alrighty, but what I want to get started on now is adding some kind of boulders, rocks, and vegetation along the river's edge right here, because, you know, it is a desert. I'm fine with it looking kind of bland, but right now it's just way too boring. So I think starting off with like some rocks made out of sort of tuff, we'll also do some mossy cobblestone as well, then probably just get like rid of some of the sand, replace that as well, and then as we get higher up onto the shore, I want to replace this with all of our green blocks like moss, the lime terracotta, as well as even like some bamboo. We'll even do maybe like a bit more mossy cobble up here, and I mean we should do some regular grass as well. I've been messing around with this little section for a few minutes now, and I'm pretty happy with how it's shaping up. I was thinking though, just to help kind of transition from the green blocks to the sand at the very top, we could use a few slabs and maybe even some birch slabs for a tiny bit of texture variation. So something just like this. Yeah, I think that looks nice. Just helps kind of smooth it out. Alright, let's keep adding more details. Another idea that I had was to add some of this moss carpet on top of some of the rocks here, just to, you know, greenify it a little bit more. I don't really want to go too crazy with it, just having a little bit in place should really help out, and let's add to that even more by adding some firefly bushes. And something else that should look pretty good is just dotting in a little bit of our trusty regular shortgrass. You know, can never go wrong with this stuff. And then closer to where we have these sand patches, I want to use the dry grass instead, and we can mix both the tall and the short variants together for a bit more variety. And then something else that should tie in especially nicely with the short grass is some of these dead bushes, so let's add a few of these. I'm trying not to self-glaze too hard, but I think I might be cooking. There was just one final detail that I wanted to add though, and that's a couple of buttons as well as a pressure plate to look like some small rocks. Okay, but with the build style sort of figured out for this little test plot here, I decided to lock in, put my head down for about an hour or so, and just add the same details going all the way along the river's edge in front of the entire desert city. That took a hot minute, but I think it was definitely worth the time, as it's just looking so green and lush. It really brought this area to life. And I think it does make sense just mainly having the vegetation along the water's edge, since it's a desert, there's not a whole lot of rain, and it's the only area where plants would really be able to grow. But with the riverfront all terraformed, I want to get started on extending our pathway over to the cactus farm, as well as further over this way so we can build more houses around it and add a lot of other decorations to really expand the city. Before we get too carried away though, let's go check in on my cats. I'm shameless as heck, so I like using my 2 cats, Munchie and Mittens, to guilt trip all of you into liking the video. Seriously though, taking a second to like the video is one of the best ways to support this channel, so I do really appreciate all of you taking a second to do it. Alright, getting back to Minecraft, let's just start off by digging out some of the sand so we can place in the actual pathway. The space is all cleared out, and I want to go for the exact same block palette as the rest of our pathways, so let's just start off with getting the edges in place, which I just want to create using some oak planks as well as stripped oak logs. Something just like that's looking pretty good, and then as we get further into the inside of the path, I want to go for lighter themed blocks, so let's get some birch up in here. And then for these final remaining areas, let's just fill all of those in with some brown mushroom blocks. And just one more step, which is to place some mushrooms on top of these, and then if we break it, it actually exposes that inside texture of the mushroom, which blends in perfectly with our block palette. Okay, but awesome. We now have a pathway extending all the way over to the cactus farm. It really helps out just making this thing feel more connected to the rest of the city. Oh yeah, there was just one more detail that I wanted to add around the pathway, and that's some upside down sandstone stairs, as it reveals this kind of like broken sand texture, which looks really nice on the outside of the path. But you know what, while we're at it, I was thinking we could add just a little bit more vegetation. I mean, is it even vegetation if it's all dead stuff? But you know what, I thought we could add a few bushes, more of the short grass, all of that stuff should be looking pretty good. I think this area is looking pretty good now, and as I mentioned, I did want a pathway kind of going off in this direction where we can build more houses and whatnot, so I think we can just start digging this out right here. And we'll eventually extend this path even further someday in the future, but for now I think we can end it just somewhere here. But with this space all cleared out, I placed in the pathway, and it might look a little bit chaotic right now, but just trust the process. Once we add the buildings, it'll make a lot more sense. Pathways in and looking good, and I even added a bunch of dry grass along the edge of it, so it's feeling relatively integrated into the area. The next thing I want to get started on though is some trees. I think it's going to totally elevate this area and just make it feel so much more alive, so let's go grab some materials. Oh, but you know what? I am down to my last 2 rockets, which is kind of embarrassing, so let's see. Hopefully there's some gunpowder in here. Okay, 54, that's actually pretty good, and 52, let's go. I guess we've been working close enough to our gunpowder farm where it's had a chance to generate a bit more, so that's honestly really nice. And conveniently, our sugarcane farm is right here as well, so let's just grab a bunch of this. Oh gosh, okay, the chest is overflowing. I guess that's a good problem to have. But anyway, let's just go over to our crafting table here, make a bunch of paper, and then we can make a bunch of rockets. But with our rocket situation taken care of for at least the next little while, let's go grab some materials for all of these trees. Okay, so for these trees, I want to go for sort of like a palm tree, I guess you could say, and I think the jungle leaves will fit that style perfectly, so let's gather up a bunch of these leaves. That honestly didn't take as long as I thought it would, only about 15 minutes, and check this out. I got like 20 stacks of jungle leaves, and I also grabbed a few oak leaves while I was at it too, just to mix in for a little bit of texture variation. And this is pretty nice too. I got over 4 stacks of jungle logs. I'll definitely take that. We're also going to need some materials to build the trunks of the trees, and I went ahead and got most of them together, but there's just a few more things that I'm going to need, and hopefully I'll have most of them down in our storage room. The main thing is granite. Let's take a look here. Okay, we have no shortage of granite. That's good. Let's just swing over to our stone cutter though and turn a stack of these into walls. Actually, I think we need 2 stacks of walls, and then I'll do a stack of slabs as well. And then I'm also going to need about half a stack of stairs too. The other thing I need from down here is some mud brick walls. Do I have any? Okay, 17, not going to be enough. Guess I should take these 3 too then, and let's check our packed mud chest. Okay, I have a decent amount at least. Let's just quickly turn this packed mud into mud bricks, just like so. And then at our stone cutter, once again, we can turn all of these into walls. And luckily, I think that's going to be just enough. Honestly, that's pretty convenient. And the very last thing I'm going to need for the trees is some flower pots, but I'm pretty sure I'm completely out of bricks. So first things first, let's grab some emeralds by trading with our villagers. Yeah, okay, I knew we had some iron trades here. Okay, this guy too, give me some emeralds. I mean, we do have an iron farm, so I have no shortage of iron at all, so I feel like this is the best way to get a bunch of emeralds. Okay, but with 48 emeralds in hand, let's go ahead and trade for a bunch of bricks. We also have another mason right here. Give me some more bricks, please. Okay, but that should be enough bricks, so let's swing over to a crafting table and make a bunch of flower pots. Alrighty, but that should be all the materials we need, so let's head back to the desert city. Let's start off by building the trunk of our first tree, and I think this open space kind of to the left of our cactus farm will work out perfectly. And let's begin by just stacking up a bunch of walls, and we can use a large variety just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Can even mix in a little bit of the mud brick walls, maybe go up 1 more granite, and like, I don't know, 2 moss. And we definitely do not have palm trees where I live in Canada, so I had to look up some reference images for these to get kind of like the structure of the tree correct. I don't know if I did an excellent job, but I think it turned out alright. Not exactly sure how realistic of a design it is, but I think it does look cool and definitely added some much needed life and vegetation into the area. And it's probably pretty hard to see, but I did add some like flower pots with ferns in them to almost look like some coconuts. I don't know, little detail, but it's pretty fun. With the style of the trees now figured out, I went ahead and built 7 more of them scattered throughout the entire city. I'm absolutely loving the vibe of walking through this area now. Just having some of these trees kind of overhanging the builds just makes the area feel so much more immersive. Oh, it's so nice, so cozy. You can see there's another one over here by our gunpowder farm, and I also built a few kind of behind these buildings here. Eventually, I'd love to extend this pathway kind of winding in between these trees and off in this direction, build a bunch of stuff out there. Could be really cool. But anyway, I want to get to work on gathering up some materials so we can build a bunch of market stalls over here, as well as some brand new houses in this section, so let's get right to it. I got extremely lucky and pretty much had everything I needed in my various storage rooms, but even then, it took me almost an hour and a half to get all of the items together. However, there still was just a couple of things that I had to go out in the world to get, like some wax from our bee farm, and this is kinda crazy, but I went all the way to an ocean monument to get a single block of prismarine. And I used that prismarine to craft a wall, and you'll see why later on in this video. You might be asking yourself, how on earth did it take me an hour and a half to get all of these materials, but if you take a look at what's inside these shulker boxes, I think it'll make sense. You can see they're just overflowing with some of the most random blocks ever. Like, look at this, we have all these different banners, carpets, all that type of stuff. And I tried to be somewhat organized, like this one has all of our different wood blocks, this one here has like kind of our vegetation, stuff like that, and this one here is just, I don't even know what this is, wood, mushrooms, I don't know. Anyway, there's no time to waste, so let's just lock in and build up our first house. And I wanted to go for a very similar block palette as some of the other houses in the city, just so everything looks cohesive, so I went for mud bricks, jungle wood, and brown terracotta with a few dark oak and spruce highlights. I'm pretty happy with this one so far. It definitely matches the kind of previous houses that we have in the city, which was the main thing that I was concerned about, but I think we matched the style pretty well. There's just one thing I should quickly do though, and that's throw a torch inside. Definitely don't want anything spawning in there. But with that taken care of, I think there is just a few more details that we can add to kind of spice up the building. So first things first, let's make kind of like a trapdoor sort of enclosed area right here. And then we should be able to just fill that in with some upside down dark oak stairs, which to me looks like some dirt. And then on top, I'm thinking we do alternating cactus flowers. And the whole reason for using stairs was so that we could waterlog them. And that will allow us to place some of this brain coral right on top, which looks like a super pretty like pink flower of sorts. Adding vegetation always makes houses come to life, so let's carry on with that same idea by adding some bushes on top of the roof using regular and flowering azalea leaves. And then on this lower roof section, I did use rooted dirt, which will allow us to place down some short grass, which will add, you know, even more color. The front of the house as well as the rooftop is looking pretty good now, but there is this kind of boring blank corner at the back, so maybe let's just spice this one up a little bit using some acacia leaves. Something just like this is looking pretty good, and let's add some like berries or something like that growing on the bushes themselves, just using some resin. This house is really shaping up, and I did add this cover to the side of it earlier, so I was thinking we could add some seating under here. I think it'll look pretty nice, and let's add a lot of color just using some of these crimson stairs. And then for the tables themselves, let's keep it super simple and use some scaffolding. And we gotta decorate the tables, of course, so let's do a black stone pressure plate, a couple of flower pots, and in these we can do a crimson fungus and an oak sapling. This area is looking a whole lot more filled out now, but maybe for just one more decoration we do a couple of barrels, and we can cap these off with a couple of trapdoors. I'm in love with this house. I think this one came out really cool, and you might notice that it is quite a bit shorter than some of these other houses, but I thought that'd probably be a good call just so it's not blocking the view of our cactus farm too much. Anyway, with this first house done, you know, I think let's just carry on and build house number 2. Once again, I went for a super similar block palette, but I did include quite a bit of granite in this one just so it'd stand out from its neighbor, and I did cover the rooftop with a super colorful red and blue cover. Moving straight into some of the smaller details, let's throw a lantern above the entrance, and then maybe beside the door they're just growing a small cactus. Underneath the staircase I left a bit of a gap, so let's fill that in with some water, and then in front of that let's do some grass blocks. And because there's water behind the grass blocks, it'll allow us to place down some sugarcane, and then just to stop a couple of these from growing all the way, let's use some string. I'm liking that, and maybe just beside it we add some azalea leaves, and the really nice thing about these is that they don't lose their color unlike other leaf types, so they still have a bit of saturation, really makes the area feel alive and lush. Moving up to the rooftop, we definitely need to add some details under this covered area, and maybe let's just start off with a few hanging roots, and in this corner, a lantern. And then this area beside the cover itself is pretty empty, so maybe we just do a couple of barrels and on top of that some pressure plates. To fill out the space below the main covered area, let's make a couple of tables using oak stairs and scaffolding. And then on top of them, let's just do a flower, and on this one maybe just a pressure plate. Really happy with how this second house came out, and I think we do have space for just one more beside it, so let's get to building. And huge shocker here, it's in the same style as the previous 2 houses we made, but you know, different details, slightly different house shape, just to switch it up a bit. And I pretty much got all the small details in already, but I did just want to do a couple of decorated pots right here and a couple of regular flower pots, and in those we can do an acacia sapling and a torch flower. As you can see though, we have a lantern above the entrance, and over on this side is a staircase which takes us up onto the roof. Oh, that's not the rooftop. I was trying to say on the rooftop we have a small seating area as well as a garden. The vibe in this area is straight up immaculate now. We have all these houses with like the cactus farm just towering over the rooftops. Looks so sick, especially with the trees in place, all the terraforming along the river as well. Okay, but you might notice there's this large sandy area right here, and I think I've mentioned it, but I want to put some market stalls here and pretty much create like a bazaar of sorts. And I want there to be quite a few different vendors, so for the market stalls themselves, I think they're going to be pretty small, and just got to use a bit of dirt here so we can actually place these upside down stairs to create a sort of table of sorts. And then at the back on top of the table we'll go fence, fence, and fence, fence. And then here's where it gets a little bit weird because I want to use some lightning rods, which are a little bit tricky as I want the bigger part to be at the top and the bottom, so we have to do something like that. Anyway, we'll do the same thing over here, just a temporary block, do a rod right there, break that one, and do another rod right on top. And we're going to be building a bunch of these, and just to bring a ton of color into the area, I want to do kind of like different colors for each of them. So this first one is obviously going to be pink, and it is a little bit tricky because we can't place carpets here without having something supporting it, so we'll just do a couple of string, and then we should be able to go carpet and carpet. You know, it's a fairly simple stall design, but once we add all of the, you know, kind of goods and stuff that they're selling, I think it's going to be looking a whole lot better. But with the basic stall design kind of figured out, I went ahead and built 7 more of them, all in different colors, and a few of them are even slightly different sizes just to add a bit more variety. Oh yeah, and I also did make a decent amount of them out of jungle wood instead of oak just to shake things up even more. Returning all the way to our pink stall that we started with, I want this one to be a bookstore, so let's place down a lectern with a book and quill inside of it. And then right beside that, let's do a chiseled bookshelf. On top we can do an amethyst cluster, and let's just display a few books. On the other side of the stall, let's just add another chiseled bookshelf and a regular bookshelf. Can put a few more books in here, and then maybe just another amethyst bud on top of this one here. And then on top of the table itself, let's place down a chest, a couple of iron pressure plates, which to me look like paper, and then in this final spot right here, let's just do a few cyan candles, and we can light that up with our flint and steel. Let's have this gray stall beside the pink one selling some spices, and I think we can sell that idea a little bit with some flower pots with saplings in it to look like some basil. And then just to fill out the table, let's do a pressure plate, and to light the whole thing up, let's do a soul lantern up here. I went ahead and built some barrels in front of the stall using some trapdoors, and let's fill these in with red chili powder, green curry powder, and turmeric powder. Definitely no concrete powder in sight, nuh-uh. Okay, moving on to the next stall, I want this one to be selling melons, so let's just place a melon there, and maybe on top just a candle to look like a bigger stem. And then once again, let's just light it up using a soul lantern, and then just to fill out the table a little bit more, let's do acacia pressure plate and another one right there. We definitely need some pumpkins in here, so let's just throw one down maybe right there, and just for like a slightly different type, we could do some red sand with a sea pickle on top. I think it kind of sells the idea. Okay, but beside that, let's do a larger pile of melons, maybe just like with some green concrete powder as well, another melon on top, and we can even throw a pumpkin in here too. And gotta add all the sea pickles and candles just to spice it up a bit. Get it? Spice it up? This black stall right here should be perfect for some candles, I'm thinking, so let's just start off by adding a couple of smaller tables, and on top of that maybe let's do some blue candles as well as some white candles. And then right beside that, let's do some orange ones. Maybe over here we can do like a few red, maybe a few more red ones here, and on top of the table maybe just some green ones. I'm pretty happy with that so far, and maybe just at the back here we can hang a soul lantern. And we still do have a little bit of space back here, so let's just create a barrel that has some wax in it. You know, maybe they use these to make more candles, or they could be selling raw wax as well to other people so they can make their own candles. And if we're gonna do that, we might as well just have it that they're selling some straight up honey as well. So at the bottom, let's do some raw gold. I think that'll look pretty good if we look through the honey itself. Super sticky up here, but let's surround the entire thing with some trapdoors to once again sell that barrel look, something just like that. But yeah, I think that's our candle shop done. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this brown stall right beside the candle shop I thought could be selling some fish and maybe even some fishing rods too. So right in front of the table, let's do a couple of cauldrons, fill those with water, and then just cover them up with some trapdoors, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that one's open? Just trust me, there's totally fresh fish in here, ripe for the taking. I don't know, just trust me. And to resemble some fish kind of laid out on the table, let's do a couple of warped pressure plates, and let's also light this one up with a soul lantern. And then remember that single prismarine wall I had to get a while back? I was thinking we could have some like hanging fish kind of between these two markets, and we can do that with a sandstone wall as well as our glorious prismarine wall. Oh yeah, that was totally worth the 15 minutes it took me to go get that. Okay, jokes aside, let's create a barrel of cod using some raw iron, and if we just surround it, you know, with our trapdoors, it should look like it's inside of a barrel. And then, I don't know why, but if we put some glow lichen on top, it should look even fishier. I think I'm happy with that, so let's maybe just go ahead and make another one, this time out of raw copper, and maybe this one is like salmon or something like that, and oh yeah, can't forget the glow lichen. This stall is turning out super cool. I think we do have a bit of open space at the back here though, so let's just place down a couple of barrels, and on top, some spruce trapdoors. Y'all already know that I absolutely love flowers in this game, so let's turn this yellow stall into a flower shop. In this one, let's do my favorite flower, the blue orchid, and then right here in the front, we can do an azure bluet, a crimson fungus, a dark oak sapling, and an allium. On top of the table itself, we can do a cherry sapling, which kind of looks like a bonsai, and back here, a red tulip. Oh yeah, and can't forget to add a lantern. This area is looking insane, and we just have 2 more stalls to go. For this white one right here, let's just keep it super simple, do a couple of cakes, a pressure plate, and on the side, a couple of chests. Just 1 more stall to decorate, and let's go all out with this one and turn it into a super colorful rug stand. I think it'd look absolutely awesome if we do a bunch of banners kind of draped across the front here to look like some of the different rugs that they have on sale. And then in front of that, let's do some larger rugs. We can just do maybe a purple one right here, make it a little bit taller using some carpet, and to look like there's a rod kind of going through it that it's wrapped around, we can use some buttons. So using that same building technique, let's add a blue one right here, a yellow one right here, and can't forget our buttons, boop, 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 and boop. Okay, but come on, you gotta admit, we absolutely cooked here. Check out all these little details. This thing is so crazy packed with stuff to look at. I love this thing. I could not be happier with how this new district inside of the desert city has turned out. Everything just came together super well, and honestly, I'm just excited to keep building out here in the future. But as always, if you want to explore this world for yourself, you can get the world download on my Patreon or by joining right here as a member on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Happy building, and I'll see all of you in the next video.